morning, everyone, and thank you again for joining us on our latest webinar. This one is going to be a little different to our usual events, so we've got no slides for a start, which might be a relief to a few. You may have read that Qlik recently held their latest annual conference, Qlik Connect, in Florida. And as usual, we sent a team out there who've all joined me on the session today to review the event. With us, we've got our Operations Director and Qlik Partner Ambassador, Alex Walker. Our head of Service Delivery, David Tomlins. And representing the commercial side, we have Chris Lofthouse, that many of you will know on the call. So if I can start with each of you giving me your highlight of the event. I mean, for me, the drone show looked pretty impressive for a start, but I guess we ought to think about software. So, yeah, Alex, what was your highlight?
Well, yeah, the drone show was impressive, but I think and obviously the product announcements, but I have to say the exclusive access to Universal Studios was pretty special as well. So yeah, no, there was plenty to be excited around product, but it was definitely a treat to have some of those extra bits around it as well.
Yep, no, I'm sure. What about you, David?
Mine's less sort of the social, but just seeing how quickly Talend's being integrated into Qlik. And we've already seen changes to sort of like the load script editor and the data flows, but you really feel when you were there that Talend is now fully part of Qlik as the whole business.
Right. Yeah. That's quite a long way from the drone show and Disney, but we'll forgive you as the out-and-out techie on the call. Chris, what about you? What were your thoughts?
To echo Alex, it definitely was not the exclusive access to Islands of Adventure. Going on Velociraptor several times, which was quite good. But I think other than that, put in a room with all the product managers with an open bar, hearing some things that are unofficially on the roadmap and a bit further out, and just hearing everyone's kind of visions for and their excitement around what's coming, I think was insightful.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. I guess it's a chance to catch up with people that we don't see very often as well.
Definitely
get together with a few people. So Mike Capone's keynotes are always an important part of the event. For those not aware, Mike Capone is CEO of Qlik. Can you share your thoughts on the announcements and updates? I mean, Qlik Talend Cloud that David's already mentioned was a key one, and then was the whole piece around generative AI. Same order. Yeah, Alex, what were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, so those are the two big product announcements, and I guess it might be worth covering what they mean a little bit. Qlik Talend Cloud is essentially what was the data integration part of Qlik plus Talend. They're merging together, and they're going to be kind of known as Qlik Talend Cloud, obviously with the cloud first approach. And so when you might see some terminology changing there and some kind of branding changing around that to make sure that the Talend customers come in and feel at home, as do the Qlik, and as they merge those platforms, they'll become closer and closer joined. And then the analytics part of the business kind of stays the same. That's still Qlik Analytics and Qlik Cloud around that. So that was one of the announcements. That's really exciting. That's going to be the biggest change, I think, in if you work in the data integration space or you come from a Talend background. And they've really moving forward on integrating that, like David says, that's exciting. And then the other big announcement was Qlik Answers, which is their sort of it's generative AI, but in this retrieval augmented generation kind of way. So this is all about business documents, curated data, summarizing, finding data, explainability, and so on and stuff like that, which I think is really exciting. So yeah, we knew they were coming, those things. So it wasn't sort of like a big surprise to us, but it's really good to kind of start the conversations now publicly about where people can make use of those in their business and this broader offering that Qlik offers.
Yeah, I mean, David, could you pick up on that and give us some sort of examples of where customers might use that, or what it means to your team in how they're going to deliver it?
In terms of Qlik Talend Cloud, I think one of the things is they're going to start embedding data quality into the data pipeline stuff at some point. So it means
Right.
that they're starting to move all of that Qlik Talend Cloud, well, sorry, the Talend Cloud functionality into the Qlik overall platform. So they're going to embed the data quality stuff. They're putting DevOps elements in there. They're also going to have dynamic engines. So it means that if you've got Talend pipelines, instead of managing them in Talend Cloud, you'll now be able to manage them within the Qlik Cloud and all the other opportunities that will bring. So where you bring your own architectural resource to run your own processes. So I think that will start expanding out over the next few years in terms of what people can use that resource to do.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, certainly the quality side of it is something that it has to be borne in mind. I mean, Chris, you did a chat, didn't you, recently at the Chief Data Officer event where you were talking about, everybody's getting excited about AI. I want 2 of those AI things, please. What do you want them for? Well, I don't know. I've just been told I need AI. There's a bit of that going on, which is a little ridiculous. But your speech that you did to the Chief Data Officer event, and you did it again actually at another event we did recently, is more about how people prepare for that AI. Do you want to expand on that and what you learned at Qlik Connect around that area?
Yeah, so to take a kind of step back, I guess, Qlik and their kind of journey with AI is been kind of over several years. It's not just the kind of last 12, 18 months since OpenAI kind of came to LinkedIn, probably in everyone's posts. But essentially, Qlik reacted off the back of that kind of hype cycle, and it was very kind of early on. They have always been an open and agnostic platform, so they very quickly, almost overnight, integrated into things like AWS Bedrock, OpenAI, and other AI applications there as well. And their kind of messaging around that is, don't lock yourself in whilst the market is still deciding which LLMs and RAG applications are the best ones on the market. And the reality is a lot of them are still very niche, so that it's not going to be a one size fits all. On top of that, and I kind of mentioned there that Qlik have been doing it for several years. You've had Insight Advisor there for a long time, which is great for a demo. So coming from a commercial perspective, people love to see that application. The reality is customers don't typically utilize that to the best of its ability. You do have like the ability to add your own business terms and acronyms and stuff like that to enhance that. And I think that's where Qlik are looking to reduce the effort involved as part of that. In the meantime, they're also baking in things that can improve things like productivity and reduce skill gaps. So we're seeing that with or what's coming in the short term on the Qlik Talend Cloud aspects is the prompt to SQL Copilot. We saw that demoed at the event. That meant that it can not just interpret your just natural language using a description of what you're looking to achieve, but then also interpret the source schema as well. So on there, they demoed that against SAP, which, being able to query SAP without having to consult an expert is no short feat. That's really impressive. Once we get hands-on, we'll see how, we'll try and break it as usual. But then also you've got some existing kind of capabilities from the Talend side, which will get brought into the platform, but you can still utilize it today, which things like the AI classification, magic fill, but then also we'll see the chat with my data, which is a RAG application specifically for data engineers, not for business users, to be able to test things like quality and so forth as well.
For the layman, Chris, what's RAG?
Alex mentioned it, retrieval augmented generation. So that's what you interact with in order to query an LLM. And don't ask me what an LLM is. Alex or David can cover those.
Something language models.
Large
language model. Alex.
Yeah, it's fair to say we're all sort of on a, increasing our learning about this and whatever. But yeah, as we had a session with a follow-up session with Ryan, who ran a company called Kindy that was acquired by Qlik fairly recently. We had a session at our company day last week with him, which was really good because he ran us through there's AI, a subset of AI is generative AI, a type of way of doing it. Generative AI is through large language models, which is LLM, but that's just like processing, kind of guessing your next word, and then RAG is an add-on to that or an extension of that says, well, I want this to only look at my data, and I want it to, so that's the retrieval part. It's going to retrieve that and augment it to generate the language. So that's that's the big thing around Qlik Answers that's coming, is you're going to be able to give Qlik a set of documents, and this is unstructured data, so quite a new thing for Qlik, and it's going to be then you're going to be able to say, right, what happened, what happened to this person. Let's say it's accident reports, and it will go and find that, and maybe it's in 3 or 4 different documents, but it will summarize it in one response, and then give you links to those documents. And that's really exciting. That is, like we say, AI is everywhere. It's one of the clear use cases that AI is good for already. That's like that it can look at lots of information, unstructured, potentially in the future structured as well, and come back and summarize that and find the thing you're looking for without you having to pour through hundreds or thousands of pages to find that. It's really good at that and can really add value and be that kind of accelerator in that area.
And one of the other key messages that was there from a data integration perspective is to be able to prepare for all of these AI technologies that are coming through. Is I know is another term, but garbage in, garbage out. So there's going to be an increased focus on making sure your data is of a higher quality, using sort of the Talend capability to make sure that when you're using these AI technologies, the responses that you get are accurate and relevant to the question that you're answering.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about this at an event we did the other week. The old garbage in, garbage out. Unfortunately, there'll now then be AI sat in the middle of it, which will make it exponentially even more garbage coming out. So, yeah, that whole business of being able to prep the data and make sure it's properly governed and of a sufficient quality is going to be key before anybody does anything with AI on it. Is in my view. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
Yeah, well, so one of the other announcements they made as well as part of that, and building on the kind of AI pieces, Qlik are really focusing on explainability to ensure trust, and they talk about this trusted data foundation, which ties in with Qlik Talend Cloud. So they've got a really clear message and position of what they're trying to achieve there, have that kind of end-to-end data platform. But one of those was, as part of the Talend acquisition came across was the trust score. That kind of focused more around discoverability and accuracy. They're going to be enhancing that further to look at things like timeliness, freshness of data, and more aspects to make sure that when you're interacting with either analytics or AI applications, you can trust that, because it will give you that kind of score to say, this is 97% accurate, or this has got a score of 20%. And what that gives you is, especially when you service that into something like one of the other announcements was the data marketplace, which allows different domains within an organization to create data products. You can then gamify that whole process of to drive people to want to improve quality of data and to make sure that data is of sufficient quality, like you say as well.
Yeah, it's like self-fulfilling then, isn't it? That's a good idea.
Yeah,
good
and
idea.
going back to what you said about, I want 2 AIs, please, that kind of thing, is that we've got to remember that AI is not some magic bullet that's just going to, you install it or you tick a box and your AI works and you've got magic. It goes back to that. It's back to the same basics that we've always had. Like we've said, data quality, getting your data in the right place, getting it accessible, curating that, and some of those tools are going to help with that. And then, knowing what the right data to feed into your large language model is. You could feed in all of your corporate documents, but are they all true? Are they all reliable? How do you know that? How do you filter them, and so on? So the starting point is the same as for any kind of data platform kind of project, really, where you need to understand what your sources are, what you trust, how you're going to get access to it, Maybe you centralize that into a cloud platform, either directly into Qlik Cloud or into another, one of the hyperscalers, your Snowflakes, your Databricks of this world or whatever, so that it's then accessible, and then that's going to be useful both for analytic, kind of traditional analytics, but also AI empowered analytics as well. So it's the same starting point really, as you would start with other kind of projects.
Yeah, so it's going to drive a whole load of sort of data warehouse modernization or data platform modernization, as people need to, if they've got huge amounts of data, think about putting them into the likes of Snowflake and Databricks and things like that first. And in fact, that leads me on a nice segue. Oh, sorry, I've been asked to point out that if you have any questions as you're going along, please put them in the live chat, and we will pick them up as we go through. Or if you want to come on and raise your hand and we can ask a question as well. But that segue leads me on to David. So you did a presentation around Snowflake. That is one of these hyperscalers who were enabling cloud-based data warehouses, and you did the presentation that I think we've shown on here before around making sure that people don't go out of control with costs.
Yes.
How did that go?
Yeah, so Alex and I did that presentation. That went really well. We got lots of people standing up, taking photos of our slides, and we got a few people coming up to us at the end to ask questions. But while we were there, which was really great, is that it's now the Snowflake monitoring app's now been enabled via a app automation on every single person's Qlik Sense SaaS tenant. So people can go get that now. It will be in the QAA template list. But one of the things we did get actually is we got lots of questions at the end about how you enable that on Qlik Sense on-prem, because obviously it's been released in SaaS. So we have released some notes somewhere which allows you to get that on-prem as well. So it's not restrictive to, as long as you have the layout container, the new layout container that on your on-prem environment, you can sort of look in Qlik's GitHub repository and download the latest version and have that on-prem as well.
And the support guys can help out with getting that layout container on if needed. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Did you, any of you go to, well, you must have done, the other presentations, anything that stuck out for you on some of those outside of the main keynotes? Alex?
Yeah, so I mean, the sessions I always look up are the roadmaps, which we get access to anyway, but you tend to get new roadmaps launched around these conferences, and then the workshops to get hands-on with anything new. This year the workshops, there was less to get new stuff to get hands-on with. I still kind of explore some areas of the platform I'm less familiar with, but the roadmap one, and then following up at kind of the booths afterwards with some of the contacts that we've got at Qlik. I think one of the things that's come through, and I think David alluded to it earlier around some of these kind of quality of life improvement stuff. That's what really excites me, because whilst it's great to think about AI and data integration and talent and whatever, we know that the majority of you on this call are probably Qlik Sense customers, some on-prem, some cloud, and you're doing that kind of your core analytics. You're in there day to day, either using it or building it, and so on. And one of the drums we've been banging is quality of life for those people, because that's a big part. Perhaps not your biggest customers, because they might be getting bigger projects from elsewhere, but there's still a lot of people out there that are day to day doing that. So there's some updates coming to the navigation, both in the Cloud Hub and the apps themselves, things like sheet grouping, which I know is like a silly thing to be excited about, but I know people that have got hundreds of sheets in apps that have wanted a way to categorize, and that's coming in a couple of weeks' time. All sorts of improvements around like the data gateway and accessibility for files. We've already seen the on-demand tabular reporting stuff coming out. There's a whole load of changes around that. We saw the autocomplete toggle where you can now turn off autocomplete in the data load editor, which seems like a silly thing, but it frustrated a lot of people for a lot of time. So it's good to see that. I think there's been a little bit of a pause where there's not been a lot of those things, but right now we've got some of the talent folk have come in and said, no, let's get this working for the people that are using it. it. And so we're really pleased to see some of those quality of life improvements for those of us that live in the product day in, day out.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? Are there any sort of commercial sides? I mean, there's new pricing that was talked about around the capacity model and things like that.
Well, just to kind of add on in terms of what I'm hopefully looking forward to incorporating into my demo to new prospects, but also, you know, when I have catch-ups with customers. So there's an improved Insight Advisor, coined Insight Advisor 2.0, hopefully going to come in the short term or short medium term. You know, as Alex said, there'll be improved navigation and interfaces around some of these things as well. One of those is what came out just before Qlik Connect was transformations flow into QCDI. We'll see a similar interface, data flows, for example, in Qlik Cloud Analytics as well. So that's a user interface for building not just simple transformations. It's not data manager. This is going to be a really capable interface for achieving a lot of things, joins and complex transformations, and writing the Qlik script behind the scenes as well. So that looked really interesting. From a commercial side, you know, you've got obviously Qlik Talend Cloud. It's being fused together. There's a lot of integration already happened. Transformation flows came from Talent Pipeline Designer. On the commercial side, we're moving away from products now. So it's not QCDI, Qlik Cloud Data Integration, and it's not Talend, you know, Data Studio and whatever it is. It's now based on capability. So new commercial package on that side is coming out soon, earmarked for kind of July time. And what we'll see is that will be sold based on capability instead, which is great. It means that we can just look at what the customer's looking to achieve and then just map that to the capabilities that they're going to require to achieve those things. It's not this is a QCDI opportunity or this is a talent opportunity. It's you buy what the capability and you get everything as part of that, which makes my life a little bit easier and hopefully makes the customers a little bit happier that they aren't limited based on products and having to back the right product there. Yes, capacities come out, and one of the kind of Qlik's messaging there is that, you know, they don't want to leave customers behind. Customers that may still be on Qlik View, so there is a move to cloud initiative. So if there's any customers on there that are still either on-prem or on Qlik View, you know, do get in touch and we can look at how we can get you moved over, because let's face it, all the innovation is going to be in Qlik Cloud or Qlik Talend Cloud going forwards. And that's not because they're looking to trap you. It's just the reality is it requires modern technology, microservices, for example, to support a lot of these things. There's a lot of compute power that's required. And if you were to try and deploy that, I remember, you know, was the latter years of when I was on the technical side, in order to do an implementation, you started, you know, to do things like alerting, reporting, and analytics. You needed several servers, just, you know, if you went down a best practice architecture, and it just removes that kind of complication. That's the main thing that I kind of took from it, is we're hopefully moving to a simpler time where we look at the challenges and we look at the outcomes, and then we can propose the platform, a single platform to achieve that.
Yeah, it gives you a challenge, David, I guess, in keeping your guys all up to date. I noticed a few of them are taking the exams or refreshing their exams and stuff.
Always. Yeah, I mean, for me, the stuff that I liked was the stuff that helps us deliver for our customers better. So just one thing is the amount of work going into the connector factory seems quite apparent. We're working on some QCDI projects at the moment, and the number of flat files that we need to ingest is quite large. So that's coming soon for QCDI. We're actually getting that customer. Not yet. So we're getting a customer on the early adopter program for that, like a bespoke REST API as well. And I understand there's like quite an ambitious target for the number of web connectors that they're going to produce in the next 12 months. So that just makes our job a lot easier, particularly when we've got to deliver, as well as small things like folders are supposed to be coming out for data objects within Qlik Sense SaaS. So instead of having hundreds and hundreds of QVDs everywhere, you can kind of partition them into folders, which just makes everything a bit better. And also QCDI is going to integrate better with QAA, so they're going to release new APIs for QCDI. Qlik App Automations.
Oh, sorry.
So they're going to, well, I imagine the APIs already exist, but they're going to release more of the APIs that make Qlik Talend Cloud work, so that you can integrate with them better with QAA. So at the moment you can start and stop a pipeline, but I hear there's more coming, and also being able to trigger an app automation from Qlik Talend Cloud is coming as well. So it's all.
We need a new webinar on QAA by the sound of it.
Yeah, well, I think when this all gets, I'm not sure the date it's coming, but once it's coming, I think there's just going to be so much more integration across the whole platform as a whole, rather than it being quite siloed at the moment. It's just going to allow us to deliver a lot more
it does
capability
feel like
within our solution.
It does feel like there's a dam of capability which is just going to get knocked down and flood over to us. You know, July seems like it's going to be a month of significant change. New capabilities, but also enhancements. If it does, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a bit daunting, I think, be able to keep up with it. I saw, we obviously keep track of these things, and someone's in our Slack channel, internal Slack channel, talking about be able to see and visualize the scripts that are included within applications within the data load editor. So even today, things are changing, and I think it's going to be an interesting summer as a whole from that side.
Yeah. From representing the colouring in department, it sounds like I'm going to update a whole load of web pages and collateral and God knows what else as well. But hey ho, it's all part of the fun.
Add it to your list. Neil, I was just going to pick up one quick thing, because your original question was what other talks did we go to, wasn't it? And we ended up talking more roadmap stuff, because you can tell that's what excites us. But there were I would be remiss if I didn't mention that one of our customers also did a talk. Ingersoll Rand did a talk on their kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly of their kind of data transformation project. They moved from a kind of a very kind of traditional, more on-prem focused Cloudera kind of Hadoop kind of environment up to Snowflake. They've used QDI, Qlik Data Integration, but they're also using some QCDI, and they'll no doubt be in Qlik Talend Cloud as well as the analytics stuff. And so they shared that, and that had a really good response. Again, I've always said that I like the ones that aren't just like, hey, we chose this product, we implemented it, and everything went well, and sunshine and rainbows. They very much went through where they found challenges in the process, the strategies for dealing with that, how they upskilled, how they dealt with the organizational change, and so on. So that was really good to hear. And then they got a mention on main stage because they got an award as one of the Global Transformation Awards. Really good. Like that was probably my favorite other talk, other than the one we did, of course. That I took stuff away from.
And what other ones did you go to, David?
Or were obviously
you prepping for your own?
Well, yeah, I was also thinking. I was in the preparation room, sorting out my presentation and making all the last minute changes that came through. Obviously, like new visualization tips and tricks from Patrick Nordstrom. That was good. Obviously, the roadmap sessions that we talked about. Seeing some AutoML use cases I looked at, because we're doing some few POCs at the moment with various with the university at the moment, which is going really well, but actually just trying to see how other people are implementing that, which seems to be quite similar to us. That was a bit reaffirming. What else was there?
That's good to know.
Yeah.
What about you, Chris? Did you go to any of the other ones? Did you go in the usual battle in the pricing one?
They don't do the pricing ones there anymore. They keep it purely kind of customer and technically focused, I guess. But I did float around the expo area quite a bit and just kind of talking to one of the really big positive things now is a lot of the product managers are on those booths. They're there to talk to you.
Okay.
And we've got some. We know a few people there, so I was one of the first people to see a new anonymous access to Qlik Cloud as well, outside the product manager team of people at Qlik. So I was pretty chuffed with that. On-demand report generation that came to Qlik, was it last week? I'm told. I got to see that firsthand, and there's some other developments there on the roadmap in terms of being able to do in-browser editing for advanced authored reports. So expect that to come down the line. So similar to kind of like pixel perfect reporting, which was quite exciting. But yeah, going back to what I said right at the beginning, being able to just access those product managers and just query them, give them some feedback, hear some, oh, that's coming down the pipeline. That's not, it might not be visible to us all the time, but they do know these things. They are listening and they are reacting, and it's good to see how well that product team get on and how they gel together as well. So that was useful.
Yeah, some good contacts to be made, I'm sure. Yeah. We have had a question in the chat, which comes from Andy at Kimmel. So he's saying the roadmaps, does on-prem still have a future, or will it wither as more cloud capabilities are added?
I don't mind taking this one. So there is still a roadmap for on-prem. The focus of it is around the sort of more the in-app experience really, and the scalability and reliability of that platform. So we would expect front-end changes that you see in Qlik Cloud to come to on-prem. Now, there's always a bit of a compromise there because some of the architecture is slightly different. So we're just previewing at the moment this kind of sheet grouping and new navigation, and the sheet like there's new left-hand panel and navigation. We haven't been told one way or the other, but I would expect that some of that to come to on-prem because it's kind of baked into the app itself. But the things outside of that, the things in the hub, the collections, the groupings, the Qlik Answers, the Qlik Talend Cloud stuff, that is all going to be cloud focused. So there'll definitely still be sort of that kind of improvements you've seen, like the layout container came to on-prem, and some of those other changes have come there. But it's going to depend on behind the scenes, like someone mentioned earlier about there's so many microservices and additional things they've got to do. They've said that Qlik Answers is taking a considerable amount of infrastructure, just like any AI project does. It's got massive compute behind the scenes, and so on. So the kind of thing you would struggle to spin up on-prem, and then integrating that, and like Chris said, like the number of servers and the complexities of that, they handle that as part of that. So yes, there is a roadmap. You'll probably see like the products that have sort of getting less attention over time. Obviously Qlik View now, very much stability, but there's still thousands of customers around the world using that, and very, very key. They're going to keep that running, maintain it, make sure it's secure, make sure it's reliable, scalable, supports the latest operating systems and stuff like that. But you're not going to see Qlik Answers come to Qlik View. Similarly with kind of end printing is probably the next in line, where absolutely a lot of people are relying for that for reporting from Qlik View or Qlik Sense on-prem, but you're seeing the capabilities come into the tabular reporting and so on. Similarly with Qlik Sense itself on-prem, it's kind of still very active. You're still seeing a lot of development there for the on-prem stuff, but focused on that kind of in-app experience really, rather than the hub or the management console and so on. So that is the direction of travel, is towards cloud. I guess the only caveat there I would say is that the Talend architecture is a bit different from Qlik's traditional architecture. So Talend has been, it comes from more of kind of an open source, deploy it yourself kind of ethos, and that dynamic engine that David's talking about there, and their current kind of engine. Most people deploy them on their own resources, not Talend's resources, or now Qlik's, and so we're waiting to see exactly how that plays out with your options around deploying some stuff on-prem. Now, I don't think we'll move away from cloud being the way you manage and interact with it, but some of the compute perhaps might get pushed on-prem, a bit like they had with Qlik Thoughts. There's some, whether we'd ever see anything like that again, I don't know. But again, it's still very much going to be cloud first, with that as something you can deploy out of there in the future. So yeah, really encourage everyone to kind of have an idea of how you'd head towards cloud. And I guess the other, on that, we also at the expo spoke to some people around some of the tools that are available for migration and so on. So watch this space on that one. You might see some kind of new offerings available arothat as well for that. So I won't name any names because nothing's finalised yet. But yeah.
Well, that leads very nicely into a question that Helen's raised, which is, do we have any advice on how to move from on-prem, easy for me to say, to the cloud? So I guess watch this space, Helen, and we'll try and.
So we can help you today, and we've helped a number of customers, but obviously we see the same kind of challenges and some of the same work being required for each of them. Now, it's going to depend on the complexity of your environment, what you want to achieve as part of that. Is it literally just a lift and shift, or is it like, well, actually this is quite legacy now and we want to reimagine what we're doing and re-implement that? That becomes more of a kind of a consulting question for David's team. So absolutely don't wait for that to come. That might be something we offer you as part of a migration process, or it might be that's not appropriate for you. So absolutely reach out to your account manager, to support, to someone if you've got a consultant working for you, or anything from us. And we'll be able to give you what we can do now, and we can look at whether there's any additional options coming down the line that might be worth waiting for.
Yeah, I noticed Gary's posted in the chat. Gary Unverified, I'm assuming is Mr. Palmer. I'm a Qlik on-prem customer and migrating to cloud now, and the Ometis team are helping with this migration in reply to Helen. So Helen, get in touch and we can certainly help you out there.
And just to add, from a commercial perspective as well, so there's a number of different initiatives to get you moved over, different ones that we can go through. It is different, and the kind of value, I guess, is different per customer, because it's going to depend on, there are two license models at the moment. You've got user-based model, which all on-premise customers will be on, but when you go to cloud, you can either stick on that model, or there is an option to potentially move to capacity as well, if that is the right thing to do. So there is, just to plug the SaaS readiness tool, so that is freely available on the help site, or it's on the migration center, and that's something we use to look at what capacity you are using on-prem, and to see if that's a conversation that you want to have, or it just allows you to see if there's anything that's going to trip us up moving you to cloud as well. So whether that's an unsupported extension, if you're using things like imprinting, you've got to consider, can we put those over into reporting services and stuff like that? I think the obvious thing there is just, open a conversation and we can look at getting you moved across.
Yeah, definitely. You got any thoughts on that side, David?
Yeah, well, I was just going to mention the SaaS readiness tool that Chris was mentioning. That's always our first point of call. And then what we would tend to do is we would have a look at your how your streams are laid out. What's quite important is your security rules, because actually the security rules completely change when you move from on-prem to cloud. And then the other thing is your task management on-prem. That changes as well. So there's a few key elements to look at. I would say probably security and tasks, but other than that, it's the SaaS readiness tool is really helpful. Yeah,
we've done a few of these now.
It's
one or two. Yeah, absolutely. So conscious of time, it's 11:39, and we said we'd take about 45 minutes. So just finishing up then, from each of you, what's the one thing that people should lean into, or sort of focus on for the rest of 2024? Alex, let's start with you.
I think the key kind of takeaways are, like, if you've not got a plan to get to cloud, start thinking about that. That's that key message we've just been talking about there, because that's where you're going to get these new features, the new value, and cost savings potentially. It depends how big your environment is and the dynamics of that and whatever maintainability and those new features move to cloud. Then the other bit is about that, that underlying whatever's underneath your analytics and so on. I would say, so start for, we might not have the Talend quality capabilities now, but start thinking about how are we going to centralize our data? How are we going to ensure the quality of it? How can we, get it so that it's ready to use for analytics, AI, and or other integration projects and so on. So I think those would be my my main kind of starting points that's going to apply broadly, because not everyone's going to buy Qlik Answers in the next few weeks and implement that, because they won't be ready for it, and I don't think Qlik are ready for it either, probably, if everyone did that, but I'm sure they'd like that problem. So yeah, I think those would be the first two things that again, those might not be too different from what I'd have said last year, but it just that's about enabling you to take advantage of these new things that are coming out. You need those things in place.
Yep, no, good points. David?
I would sort of reiterate what Alex says, obviously, but more to do with like sort of we've got our apps and they're working now. Now it's time to just make sure that the underlying data is of a level of quality, governed, maybe thinking about making things into products, as that's going to start being released soon. So creating data marts and productizing your data so it could be used across your environment in a controlled and sort of single source of truth way is probably
that's good.
what I'd start thinking
about. Chris?
Yeah, I think just echo what both of them have said. So just act now, I think, is the number one thing. Even if you're not looking at doing an AI initiative, I think a lot of that messaging is ultimately the same. It's repackaged, garbage in, garbage out, as everyone says. I feel like a bit of a cliche saying it, but being able to trust data, and even if you don't want to do AI or it's not right for you now, being able to trust it for analytics to make a decision based on it is very valuable. And obviously that's where everybody wants to be. So yeah, act now. If you're not in cloud, start the conversation. Let's see if it's right for you, and if it is, then absolutely, then map out a plan to get you there. It doesn't have to be in the next few weeks, few months. It could be a couple of years down the line, but have that plan in place, start those kind of conversations. But then also, surface that trust score, and make sure people are aware going into or making a decision off your applications, that they know if that is a trusted data set.
No, it's all good advice. Well, guys, thank you very much for your time this morning. It was great to hear that you didn't spend all of it at Disney.
Didn't go to Disney at all, actually, did we? That's next year's conference. Is Disney, but yeah. So
I'll let you off. But no, that's been really useful stuff. And if anybody on the call, like I say, wants to pick up those conversations, we'd be more than happy to have the chats with you when you're ready. Just reach out to your account managers, and let's see where we go from there.
And as Tricia said in the chat as well, I guess another action for this year is follow us on LinkedIn, subscribe to look at our blog, and stay engaged. Again, it would need to. It would normally be on the slide, wouldn't it? But we don't have the slide today.
It just shows how completely incapable I am without some pointers to tell me what to say. But no, she's dead right. Yeah, please do follow us on LinkedIn. That's where it's our sort of main area that we're using to disseminate information out. And yeah, it's been great to have you all on. I think we've clearly got quite a bit of material for some upcoming webinars, which we'll announce as and when we're ready for them. But thank you very much for your time today, the three guys and everybody who's attended. Thanks all.
Cheers, Neil.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Neil.